In the summer of 1944, while American soldiers are still dying on the beaches of Normandy and the Pacific, 730 delegates from 44 nations gather inside a Victorian wooden hotel in the mountains of New Hampshire. They have come to design the global financial system for the world that will exist after the war is won. The conference will last 22 days. It will create the International Monetary Fund. It will create the World Bank. It will make the United States dollar the reserve currency of every economy on Earth, and it will do so on terms drafted almost entirely by two men. One of them is the most famous economist alive, dying of heart disease, leading the British delegation, defending a country that has lost an empire in 5 years. The other is an obscure American Treasury official, brilliant, cold, almost unknown to the public, and 50 years later, conclusively proven by declassified Soviet cables to have been an active intelligence asset of Moscow for at least 9 years. The architecture of the modern world was designed in a hotel in New Hampshire. One of the two men holding the pen was working for Joseph Stalin. In 1914, the international financial system worked, more or less, the way it had since 1871. Every major currency was pegged to gold at a fixed rate. Capital flowed freely across borders. London was the center of the world, and the pound sterling was its reserve. The First World War broke it. Britain went off gold to finance the war. Germany hyperinflated to oblivion in 1923. The patched-up gold exchange standard of 1925, the one Andrew Mellon presided over from the Treasury, survived 4 years and then collapsed in the Great Depression. By 1933, every major economy had devalued, raised tariffs, and turned inward. Trade between nations had fallen by 2/3. Britain abandoned gold in 1931. Roosevelt confiscated American gold in 1933 and devalued the dollar by 40%. By 1939, the old system was simply gone. Then came the Second World War. By 1944, with Allied victory beginning to look certain, the question that had no answer in 1933 became suddenly urgent. If the old system was dead, what replaces it? John Maynard Keynes is 61 years old in 1944. He has been the most influential economist alive for 25 years. He came up at King's College, Cambridge. He served in the Treasury during the First World War. He went to the Versailles Peace Conference in 1919 as a young Treasury official, watched the Allies extract impossible reparations from Germany, resigned in disgust, and wrote a book that became a bestseller in 12 countries, predicting, with eerie precision, the German hyperinflation, the rise of an extremist regime, and a second European war within a generation. He was right. He spent the rest of his career being right. In 1936, he published The General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, the book that gave governments the intellectual permission to do what Hoover and Mellon had refused to do in 1929. Spend during downturns. Use the state to put men back to work. By 1944, his heart has failed twice. His doctors have told him not to travel. He travels anyway by ship across a U-boat-infested Atlantic because Britain, bankrupt, half-bombed, deep in American debt, has nobody else who can match the Americans across a negotiating table. He has 22 months to live. Harry Dexter White is the youngest son of Lithuanian Jewish immigrants. He grows up in Boston, fights in the First World War, earns a doctorate in economics from Harvard, joins the Treasury Department in 1934, and within 7 years is the second most powerful man in American economic policy after the Secretary himself. He is brilliant. Even his enemies say so. He drafts the Treasury's response to the 1934 banking crisis. He runs Lend-Lease negotiations with Britain. He becomes Roosevelt's chief economic strategist for the post-war order. He is also, by 1944, an active intelligence asset for the Soviet Union. This is not a charge made by McCarthyite paranoia. The evidence emerges in two waves. First, the testimony of Whittaker Chambers and Elizabeth Bentley in 1948, both former Soviet couriers, naming White as a source they had handled directly. Second, and more conclusively, the Venona decrypts, Soviet diplomatic cables intercepted by American military intelligence between 1942 and 1945, decrypted in secret over 4 decades, declassified in 1995. Venona names him under 3 Soviet code names: Jurist, Richard, and Lawyer. The cables describe ongoing operational contact through at least 1945. Harry Dexter White, the architect of Bretton Woods, was reporting to Moscow throughout the conference. The Mount Washington Hotel is a vast white Victorian resort with a red roof, set against the green wall of the presidential range in northern New Hampshire. The Roosevelt administration picks it for security and for distance. It is 6 hours by train from any major city. The delegates arrive on the 1st of July, 730 of them from 44 nations, including the Soviet Union, China, Greece, India, and almost every Latin American republic. Each delegation has been told that the conference will set the financial architecture of the post-war world. Almost none of them know that the result has already been negotiated. For 2 years, Keynes and White have been exchanging detailed memoranda by transatlantic mail. Each has drafted his own plan. They have argued in writing, met in Washington 4 times, and converged on perhaps half the issues. The remaining half, the half that determines who controls the new system, will be settled in Bretton Woods. The conference runs day and night for 3 weeks. Keynes chairs Commission 2 on the World Bank and collapses twice from heart strain. White chairs Commission 1 on the IMF, the real prize. Around them, the other nations vote on terms the 2 of them have already drawn. Keynes wants a supranational currency. His proposed unit is called the Bancor, bank gold, convertible into gold at a fixed rate, but issued by an international clearing union. Countries with trade surpluses would be charged interest on their unused balances. Countries with deficits would be allowed to draw automatic credits. The system would force balanced trade, prevent the kind of currency wars that wrecked the 1930s, and place no single national currency at the center. It is the more elegant plan. Almost every economist who studies it concludes, decades later, that it was the better plan. White wants the opposite. In White's plan, the dollar is the center. The dollar is fixed to gold at $35 an ounce. Every other currency is fixed to the dollar at a declared rate. A new institution, the International Monetary Fund, will lend short-term to countries with balance of payments crises, but only at the IMF's terms, and the United States, holding the largest quota, will have effective veto power. It is the more political plan. It is also, in 1944, the only plan with any chance of being accepted by Congress. The United States holds 2/3 of the world's gold reserves. It is the only major industrial economy whose factories have not been bombed. Its army is in France and the Philippines. It will, within 12 months, possess the atomic bomb. Keynes can argue for elegance. White holds the leverage. The mechanism of White's victory is voting weights. Every country's IMF quota is set by a formula that weighs gross domestic product, gold reserves, and trade volume. The United States gets 31% of the votes. Britain gets 15. France and the Soviet Union get 5 each. Major decisions require 85%. The United States alone holds a veto. The dollar is pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. Every other currency is pegged to the dollar. The IMF's headquarters will be in Washington. The World Bank's headquarters will be in Washington. The head of each, by gentleman's agreement, will be selected from the donor power of each, meaning in practice that the IMF will always be led by a European, the bank by an American. Keynes, dying, knows what he has signed. He calls it a triumph for the American Treasury. He says it privately in a letter home. With the bitter precision of a man who has lost a negotiation he prepared his entire life to win. The British delegation accepts because Britain has no alternative. The Treasury is empty. The Empire is in revolt. The Americans are paying for the war. On the 22nd of July, 1944, every delegation signs the final act. The dollar is the reserve currency of the world. For 27 years, the Bretton Woods system works almost exactly as White designed it. Western Europe rebuilds under the Marshall Plan, Funded in dollars, settled in dollars, denominated in dollars, Japan industrializes on the back of an undervalued yen pegged to the dollar at 360. West Germany becomes the second largest export economy on Earth. Global trade grows tenfold between 1945 and 1971. The IMF intervenes in dozens of balance of payments crises. Italy, Greece, Turkey, Britain itself in 1976. The World Bank lends billions to the developing world. The dollar becomes the unit in which oil is priced, gold is settled, and central banks hold reserves. It is the longest period of sustained global growth in recorded economic history. It also contains a flaw that Keynes had predicted: a system in which every country trusts the United States to back its dollars with gold can only survive as long as the United States has the gold to back them. By the late 1960s, it does not. The Vietnam War has been financed by printing dollars. The Great Society has been financed by printing dollars. Foreign central banks, France first, then Germany, then everyone, start converting their dollars into American gold. Fort Knox is bleeding. In August 1971, a Republican president solves the problem by destroying the system. On Sunday, the 15th of August 1971, an American president preempts the popular television show Bonanza to address the nation. He has been at Camp David all weekend with 15 advisors in total secrecy, locked in the most consequential economic deliberation in modern American history. He has not warned the British. He has not warned the French. He has not warned the West Germans. He has not consulted the International Monetary Fund. He has not informed his own State Department. In the speech, which lasts 20 minutes, he announces three things: a 90-day wage and price freeze, a 10% import surcharge, and almost as an afterthought, in the middle of the speech, in two sentences, the suspension of the dollar's convertibility into gold. The system designed at Bretton Woods in 1944 is dead within 90 seconds of on-air broadcast. Next time on Empires of Money, the Nixon shock, the rise of fiat, and the world we still live in.